Good evening, everyone. We've got about 30 people on at the moment. There are a few more than that booked on, so we'll just wait another couple of minutes just to see if anybody else is joining us. Okay, it looks like the number of people joining us has slowed right down, so we will get going. I'll just get my camera turned on so I can say hello to everyone. So, good evening. I'm Steve Tabb. I think some of you will know me, some of you who don't. I work full time with England Hockey. Being involved with this project, my main role is around officiating and coaching and the operational management around that. But so I have had some experience with working with the OMS in previous versions, which is why I'm getting involved now to help with supporting this project with regards to the GMS. We've got a slide deck to present, and then I'll run through those. Hopefully that will provide you with a bit of an overview of what we believe are the tasks that you all as competition administrators probably need to do when you do get the full access to the system, and then we'll have the opportunity to do questions as well. So I'll just share my screen and go onto the presentation. So I'm hoping everyone can now see that. They should be able to. And I guess to start with, we just wanted to lay out where we've got to. We are aware that we are not where we wanted to be. We are not where you wanted us to be by this time. There have been delays. The main challenges have been around data integrity issues. So not system functionality, but actually the data being loaded into the system, and that clashing with some of the data that had already been loaded in from an OMS perspective. It's caused duplicates, it's caused difficulties in loading the data in, and it's also provided issues with regards to people who had access to OMS and only being able to access that rather than the GMS. So we've been wanting to resolve all of those issues before really letting everybody into the system to start taking a look, because otherwise you'd have been wasting your time not being able to see the right things or seeing lots of things that we already knew needed fixing. And also you'd have been spending a lot of time contacting us about various things that we'd be looking to resolve that actually are being resolved as part of wider project or wider pieces of work around fixing the data. We do have some final pieces of data integrity to fix. Those relate to the fact that there are instances of multiple versions of a club name. So some of you have already been in contact. Some of you that do have access currently have already been in contact and said, there's 2 versions of this club. We only need 1. Same applies with venues. There are multiple versions of venues. That activity around merging, cleansing that data is all happening overnight tomorrow morning. So that should be fixed. What we are confident, though, is that the fixtures information is correct. So whilst there might be two instances of a club, only one of those clubs is linked to the fixtures. So if you view everything through the fixtures detail, you will see the accurate picture. It's only if you go to clubs or teams that you'll see these duplicates, which, as I say, we're working on. We're going to get addressed and fixed tomorrow. Some of you will have access to amend some of the data in the system. However, as alluded to, we are working on fixing some of those as a bulk fix. So the club mergers activity is going to be a bulk thing. That's going to be a process that's running. So if you are tempted to change any data, please just email us, gms.support@englandhockey.co.uk, before you do so, and we can confirm with you whether those records are okay to change or whether that will cause problems in other changes that we're planning on making as bulk. Other updates. We have started the wider training of the sport. On Monday evening, we had 2 sessions for club admins and team admins. We also then ran a specific session for the EHL clubs to talk through the regulations and the system functionality that's related to EHL clubs specifically, that's different from everybody else. Around 900 people have attended those sessions. We have collated all the questions from those sessions. We've collated all the questions from previous sessions that we've held with you. We've collated the questions that have come into relationship managers, into Shelley, and into the GMS support inbox. Those are all loaded into a large FAQs document, which we've been working through, providing all the answers to, obviously trying to categorize them, remove duplicates, link questions where they're appropriate, and that FAQs document with all the responses will be going live on our website tomorrow. The club and team admin access and the player and official sign-ups is going to start next week. The plan is to send a communication out to all the clubs via their chairman and their treasurers, and this was mentioned during the training on Monday night, that will have clear instructions that they can share with their membership around how to go on and sign up. Again, the process was covered off on Monday night about how they do it, but there will be comms going out for people to share. We'll also have it on social media. We'll also have it on our website. So should be a case of just being able to point everybody to the same standardized material and the same instructions. We are aware that our levels of communication have not been perfect because we've all been a little bit too focused on getting the data in the system and focusing on that. And we're now at a point where we're very conscious that the level of communication needs to increase, and that's what we've got plans for doing. So levels of communication to you as competition administrators, levels of competition to the wider sport, that will be increasing. We've already got some plans around what it is that we need to share details of, but very happy to take suggestions from all of you about what you think should be sent out. If you think there's pieces that need to go on our website that would help you in your role, then please let us know. Again, just use the GMS support email address. System questions, please do send them into gms.support. There are some of you who hopefully will have had responses quite quickly from that. There are some of you who we've taken a little bit longer to respond to. Some of the corrections that come in, we have got those flagged up. We are working through them, and we will make sure that we respond to all of those and stay on top of the queries that are coming in. We will try and acknowledge every single email that comes in, even if we're not actioning it straight away. So that's where we are. Now on to the actual element of training. So we're talking about in-season training, the elements here, but very conscious that some of these actually could be done pre-season. Very aware that some people are contacting us already about teams dropping out, teams changing names, etc. So some of this stuff that we're covering off tonight will link to pre-season rather than in-season. General housekeeping, I'm sure you all know this already. The chat function is available. It's all controlled from the control box on the right hand side of the screen. You need to expand the control box by pressing the red arrow at the top, and then you can enter your chat questions into there. Elena is manning that chat box, and we will make sure we download that transcript at the end of the evening. So any questions we've not been able to answer, we will make sure that we drop into the FAQs or we go back to people directly and give you answers. I'm hoping, and what we found on Monday night, in fact, was a lot of the questions that were appearing, we actually did manage to cover off later on in the training. So no problem with firing questions in. Hopefully, as the training goes through, we might be able to answer some of those even before you have to receive the FAQs. In terms of other content, videos around using the system we are recording, and we will be placing those on the GMS page on the England Hockey website. So there will be tutorials on how to go in and do various different things. The FAQs document, as I've alluded to, that is going on the England Hockey website. So you can find it by using the navigation menus, or you can use englandhockey.co.uk/deliver/GMS. So that's the link to take you through to the page that's got all of our information on, and we make sure everything we do gets populated and updated on there. There is further training and drop-ins. We will have at the end of today, we'll just have a quick review on what else we think we might want to do for you as a user group, because we're fully aware that you as a user group are the most critical people in making this system work. You have the most elements to be involved in, the most functionality to interact with. So we want to make sure that we're providing the training to you over and above everybody else, because we're aware that you're the ones that need to be actioning all this stuff, and it's a little bit more complicated for you than it is for anybody else. So we'll pick up that at the end. Okay, what are we going to run through today? So 2 parts really. One, which is the question about when I log in for the first time, or in the next week or so, or for the second time, what key things should you focus on doing to check that the system is giving you what you need as a competition administrator, so a divisional secretary, somebody that's interacting with various competitions. So we'll just run through very quickly what you might want to do as your kind of key tasks initially, and then we've got a section on how do I. So a number of you have written in questions and asked, be really good to know how we can do this, and how we can do this, and how we can do this. So that's the key tasks, the core elements that you need to do, as I said, either directly before the start of the season or once we're into this season. What are the key things that you might have to do on the system? So we've got a bit of content around that. Just very quickly before we get into that, just a quick reminder about sign up, just in case people are asking you questions about this, or you yourself need to know. The URL for the GMS system takes you to the page that looks like this. It has 2 buttons, login and register. Obviously, if you've already got your details, you just log in. If you need to register, you click on the register button. That takes you to a page that then allows you to select what role you want to take. We've been asked by a few people, what if you have multiple roles? Always choose the role with the highest level of access. So as competition administrators, that is the one you guys should choose. Even if you're players as well and officials as well, choose competition admin, and then that will give you the right levels of access below you. Email addresses, please use personal email addresses. Please don't use generic chairman@hockeyclub.com email addresses. And the reason we say that is because that is linked to your profile. That's your username, that's your login. So if somebody else becomes a chairman at your club and you hand that email address over, when they log in with your email address, they will get your personal details within their account. We obviously don't want that to happen. GDPR, etc., etc. Once you've entered your email and chosen your role, select proceed. That will send a verification code to your email address, and that is basically being used to check that your email address is a valid one. You'll enter the verification code and then you'll proceed. Once you're in, there is a minimum level of detail that we have requested of everybody signing in. The common protocol exists here, so where there's an asterisk against the element, that's a mandatory element. The others are requested elements. Things like address, not mandatory, but some clubs, some organisations might use this for their membership database, and so they might ask their members to fill those fields in as a requirement from the club. As a system, we don't need it, but we're providing the opportunity to enter that in here. Other bits of information about date of birth, which helps determine whether you're under 18 or not, and also helps identify you as a unique individual, so that we don't have 2 John Smiths being linked to the same account. The other bits we can cover off if you need to ask questions. Please just challenge those. The gender question we're very aware of. We've got a way to address that with regards to the questions that people have around non-binary and people that don't want to identify currently. So we can provide that information to those that are interested. So moving on to the tasks that are associated with you logging in and getting used to the system and understanding how do you how do you take a look at what's there, and does it give you what you need? When you first log in, you'll have a home page. That home page currently will show you some notifications. On that is the membership currently. So this screen is just showing these are the people that have requested membership that are linked to the area or areas that you have been given access to. So somebody here will have access to the East, London and Midlands. So this is more of a super user access. They can see all of these requests that have come in. That's currently what shows on that screen. In future, so in fact, within the next week or so, there'll also be information in there critical to you as competition administrators, which is around missing fixtures info, so times and venues. So it'll flag up which of the clubs out there haven't entered their start times and their venues yet, so you can follow up with them and make sure that they know what they're doing. There'll also be other information in there around missing results and any match sheets that haven't been entered. In phase 2, and we'll talk about phase 2 in a bit, there's going to be more notifications that are added into here. A little dashboard will appear which will allow you to send notifications and have options to contact all the people that are using GMS. But for go live, it's the now bit, which is membership, and then the coming soon bit that will be ready within the next week for you to use. Some of you will have seen this system already as part of OMS. Some of you have logged in already. Everything's driven by the menus down the left-hand side. This is a profile with high levels of access, so there's a lot of menus down the left. You won't necessarily see all of those menus. It's just for the purposes of us doing a screenshot for today, we're taking it from a user that had high levels of permission and so has all those options down the left-hand side. So what might you want to do? You might want to check that all the competition divisions are right for the area in which you're working. So you do that, you select competitions, and everything in the system works the same. You select the main menu option from the left-hand side. You're then presented with a filter opportunity. You go through those, either enter free text or from the drop-downs. Choose whatever criteria you want in there to filter your search, and then press search. You will be presented with the results that your access allows you to see. So here, this will be someone who has who's Midlands access. They've chosen Midlands from the filter. They've pressed the female divisions. They've pressed search, and this will now return them the results of what is the competitions that are female in the Midlands. You will see groups. You don't need to worry too much about the groups. Groups are basically how we group the divisions together so that we can provide access to people, and everything sits underneath the group. The group itself doesn't actually contain a huge amount of information. It doesn't have its own fixtures, etc., but it will have core rules around how the competitions within that group all work. So on the screen, you'll see we've got a list of the adult women's fixtures in the Midlands. In order to access one of these, you would simply click on the name of the division, the competition that you want to look at. Everybody within the Midlands can see all the competitions in the Midlands, but only those people that have been given access to the relevant competition can actually go in and start interacting with that competition. So if I wanted to view Midland Women's Division 1, but I've actually only been given access to Midland Women's Division 2 North East, I will just be told I don't have access to it. I can still see that it exists, but I can't interact with it. But assuming you have the right level of access, you can then click on the competition, the division that you want to interact with, so the one that you are divisional secretary for. That will present you with a screen. Once you're in there, the screen has multiple tabs along the top. You always default to the one that's in the top left-hand corner, so the competitions one. So that first screen would have presented you with that standard information around the competition. So in this particular case, this screenshot is showing the East Men's Division 8 Southwest. So on that competitions tab, when you first went in, it will show you the core data held around the East Men's Division 8 Southwest. What we're now taking a look at is whether we want to check which teams are entered into East Men's Division 8 Southwest, to check that we've got all the right teams in there. So what we do is we look at the tabs along the top, we click on competition entrance, so the comp ent, and that shows you a screen with the list of all the competition entrants within that particular competition stroke division. What you'll also see on this screen is that this screen has an element that identifies whether there's any issues missing fixtures that are missing. So we've chosen this screenshot because this is one of the divisions that has 14 teams. That means they are not going to be playing a standard round robin. So when the system has looked, it's calculated that there should be a certain number of fixtures for every team. This team does not have that number of fixtures, so it's flagged up that there's fixtures missing. So it's 22 fixtures found. They're saying it should be 24. That's a league decision that's been taken around who is playing what fixtures. So the vast majority of you as competition secretaries will not be seeing anything in this column, because the vast majority of you have divisions that are equally balanced. So it's a round robin that works. Everybody plays each other home and away twice, or home and away 3 times, and that's set up as a parameter within the system. This is one of those vagaries that we just wanted to use to show you that this is the system will do the work to highlight for you that there's missing fixtures. If you want to check for those missing fixtures, what are they, which ones are missing, so that you can just be sure that if you have got one of those divisions that's got 14 teams, 16 teams, whatever it is, that it's the right ones that are missing, or actually you've been presented with that message in the previous screen and you don't think there should be any missing, you can now click on the fixtures tab along the top. So still within this same competitions area, click on fixtures. That will now list you the fixtures in date order and with the fixtures listed down there. That obviously, for a list of fixtures for a whole competition, is going to be a long list. So rather than showing the whole screenshot, just take my word for it that this is a really long screen. And then at the bottom of that screen, you will also see a list of the missing fixtures. So the element over here to the bottom left-hand side of the screen, I'm pointing, there's no point in doing that. The bottom left-hand side of the screen is showing that at the bottom of that list of fixtures, in fact, sorry, this is on the competition entrance screen that these fixtures are showing. So at the same screen as we were at before, you scroll down through the competition entrance and that will show you the missing fixtures. So if you want to see all the fixtures, you go to the fixtures. If you want to see the missing ones that are linked to that message in the fixtures column that says 22 fixtures found, scroll to the bottom. There's a table that will show you which fixtures, if you are doing a standard round robin, are the missing fixtures. So you can work through that and check whether that's right or not. As I say, the vast majority of you shouldn't have anything under this table, because you shouldn't have anything in the fixtures column, because there should be the right number of fixtures for every team. So that's the core things to cover off when you first go in. Check your teams, check the fixtures, check that there's a right number of fixtures, flick through those menus to see that all that information is there as you would like to see it. If you see any discrepancies, please pick that up with us as GMS support. We are working through some of those errors. We are genuinely confident that those will be minimal unless there's been changes that we don't know about. So teams dropping out of divisions, etc. Those are the kind of things we need you to get in touch with us about. We've already had some fired into us. We'll email those into gms.support and we will work on those with you. It may be that you can make those amendments yourself. So how do you make some of those amendments? Hopefully the next set of screens will talk you through some of these key elements based on the questions that we've received so far. So first thing we were asked is, how do you remove a team from a division and preserve the existing fixtures? So this might be if a team has dropped out. Essentially, they're no longer in the division, but all that's happening is you're just going to remove their fixtures. Every other team should keep their fixtures, should stay the same. So you just want to remove that one team. You do that through the competitions. So down the left-hand side, you click on competitions. That presents you with the screen that gives you the search bar at the top. You use the search criteria to find the competition division you want to use. That's the top left-hand screen. Click search, gives you all the Yorkshire North East female competitions there. That gives you the list. You then click on the competition that you want to review. Go to the competition entrance again, so bottom right-hand corner. That now shows you the competition entrants that are in Yorkshire North East Women's Division 1, Dale. Oh, sorry, I'll just go back up. What you now want to do is you want to click on the team name that you want to amend. So you'll see Batley 1 is the first team. You can click on there and that will take you through to the data around this competition. Oh, sorry, no, I'm wrong there. you have to click on the value in the left-hand side. So the YNE Women's Division 1 Dale on the row for Batley 1. If you click on Batley 1, that'll just take you to the information about Batley 1. You don't want that. You want the competitions options around Batley 1 in YNE Women's Division 1 Dale. So click on the YNE Women's Division 1 Dale for Batley. That will take you through to this screen, which then shows you the details for this specific team within this specific division. So say if you click on the team name, it'll take you just through to the team. What you want is the data that links the team to the division. That's what this screen does. Once you're in here, there's the standard icons along the top. You'll see the 4 here. You've got add records, amend records, delete records, duplicate records. So what you're going to want to do is delete. When you delete, you'll then be prompted with the information saying, are you sure you want to delete? We've done a really bad screenshot here because in the bottom right hand corner you'll see that error message has come up, but we've managed to chop that off on the screenshot. So you will be prompted when you go to delete, are you sure you want to delete this team? You press OK, and that will remove that team from that division. It won't amend the team's details as a whole. What you probably will want to do after that is just check that the fixtures have all the remaining fixtures are still there. So you do that through the same process as before. Competitions, find the competitions that you want to look for, click on the right competition, go into that specific competition, and then click on fixtures, and the fixtures then will show you that hopefully all the fixtures are still remaining for all the teams other than the one that you've just chosen to delete. Sorry. Right. Next part is, what if you don't want to delete one team, but you want to replace it instead? So if we go back to this screen here, rather than pressing delete, in this situation we want to press amend. So the second icon along, the one that looks as if it's got a pen next to it. When we press that, that will present us with the screen in the top left-hand corner. This is where we've got competition entrance amend, and you've now got a drop down. The drop down showing team will show the current team that you have listed. But if you then want to swap that, maybe you want to swap St Albans 11 for St Albans 10, you then choose St Albans 10 from the drop down. You will, when you make the change, you'll then get the prompt that you can see to the right hand side. Would you like to replace St Albans 11 with St Albans 10 in future fixtures? If you click yes and then press save, that will make that change for you. If you press no, then nothing will be affected, and just press discard from the screen on the top left and it'll be fine. You won't have made any changes. So if you realize you made a mistake, don't worry, just press no and discard, and then you can start the process again. But that will swap one team with another and just pop that team into the fixtures that exist for that current team. Obviously, you then need to think about, if you're moving one team from one division into another one, what's happening to their fixtures in the old division they were in. That won't have changed, I don't think. So you just need to check that there's no duplicate fixtures for a team. We'll go through that in a second as to how you check that. Okay, moving on to how would you change a fixture date for a particular fixture. One reminder, a few people have asked this, what does play mean along the top? Play is the test database. So it's exactly the same system, but it just links you into the test database. The play data is refreshed overnight, first thing every morning. So you can make changes to the play data to test things, to play around with things that will be live for the remainder of that day. But if you then go back into the data the following day, what's happened is the live data has been copied into the play system. So any changes you've made the previous day, if you haven't made them in the live system, they won't appear in your play data when it's copied over. So just be aware of that. But if you want to test anything, please remember to click play. There's a little tick box in the bar along the top next to the word play, to the right of the word play. So if we want to edit a team fixture date, you go down left hand side, there's an option that says fixtures. Click on the fixtures. Again, you'll be presented with an option along the top of the screen that allows you to filter and search by particular criteria. Obviously here, there are thousands and thousands of fixtures in the system. So if you don't enter any criteria at all and press search, the system does say you need to enter at least one criteria before we will search, because otherwise it would crash the system. Try and limit as much as you can, so the set of results is as unique as it can be. Otherwise the system can take a little while to produce your search results. Once you've produced the search results, you'll have your list of results that meet the criteria. And then if you want to amend that fixture again, click the left-hand column, which in this situation is the date. You'll click on that. That'll take you through to the fixture. And then here, we're just missing a screen slightly, because what you'll then need to do is click on the edit button again, which will then take you through to the screen, the bottom right one, which is fixtures amend. So click on the date, it'll give you the details around that fixture, then click the amend button. That will show you the fixtures amend. Bear in mind again that each of the elements on this screen are limited by the access you're given. So here you'll see that everything looks as if it can be changed. Your competition admin will not necessarily allow you to change every single element. This is a super user level of access. You will be able to change the date though. So you just change the date in the relevant column, and then there'll be a button that says save. You must press save, because if you don't, the change won't be impacted. Once you've done that, this might lead to a team having two fixtures on the same day. So if you have a game being postponed for some reason and they need to rearrange, we would suggest that you move the match to a gap week, a rest week. If you do that, there shouldn't be any clashes of fixtures. If you move it to a date which is currently set as a bye week, so one of the teams is playing against the team bye, that still exists as a fixture. And so that will show on the system as being a duplicate. So in this particular instance, we haven't got that, but this is just highlighting that on this date, the system is flagging up on the 5th of February 2022, Deer & Fours is showing as playing against two opposition. And it's just saying that probably isn't right. So you would then need, if you have that bye fixture, so if you've moved Team A versus Team B to the date when Team A is due to play bye 1, then on that date, you'll still have two fixtures for Team A. What you'll need to do is move the Team A versus bye 1 to a different date, so that the system isn't thinking that there's two matches on the same date. So it's a two-step process of having to change both fixtures. If that makes sense. We did have a question asked around how do we enter a brand new team into a bottom division where fixtures already exist. If it's a case that the fixtures already exist and you have an odd number of teams, so you've got 12 teams, sorry, you've got 11 teams, the fixtures for that division will have been created with 12 teams, but one of the teams will be bye 1. So what you, or bye 2, or whatever, it'll be a team called bye something. What you can do is you can just go through the process of replacing bye 1 with your new team. That should be fine. If, however, you've already got even numbers of teams and you're going to add a team into that, that's going to create odd numbers of fixtures. That means the fixtures ultimately need to be completely reconfigured. We're hoping that that is going to be a really, really small number of people that have to do that. And so what we're just suggesting is, rather than complicating people and confusing people with how to do that, we'll just pick that up on a one-to-one basis with anybody that actually needs to do that. So email gms.support@englandhockey.co.uk and we'll walk through that, just giving you a full checklist of you need to do this, then you need to do this, then you need to check that, then check this, etc., etc. It's a bit more complicated than can just be shown here. Okay, changes to fixtures, fixture dates. There is for every division, every competition, there is a cut-off date by which teams cannot change their dates and times for games. If they fall within that, this is then they have to pay attention to the regulations of that particular competition. So this is just a reminder here of the adult league regulation that has been signed off. So particularly grade 2 to 5, 10 days prior is when they have to have made their changes to the fixture without having to go through a competitions administrator. So they can amend those dates, they can amend the times and details on there and the venue on their fixture. They can't amend the dates. A club can change their times and venue 10 days prior to the system. Sorry, 10 days prior to the fixture. Once we're into that 10 days window, if a club is going to make an amendment to their venue or their time, this is when they then need to contact the competition administrators to make those amendments on their behalf. So there is a regulation to be aware of. And ultimately what this is saying is that at that point, the competition administrator is going to be the person that's going to have final say as to whether they can change or not and be involved in that amendment. Only the appointed umpires and club admins are automatically notified of changes. So that's the bit that goes through the old OMS part. So your neutrally appointed umpires that are going through that functionality, they get those automatic updates. Club appointed umpires and clubs will not be automatically informed of changes that are made to the system. Hence, you as competition administrators will need to do that as a physical process. Make sure you contact both clubs to inform both teams, to inform them that that change has been validated by you as competition secretaries and that you're comfortable and you have made that change on the system. In order to do that, there is email functionality built into the system. So again, options down the left-hand side, one that says send emails and memos. You can choose to send an email or a memo. The memo, if you want to send one of those, that's one of those messages that appears on that home screen above where you saw the member stuff. There's a little notes will appear there as people log in, but it only appears as they log in. So they won't be sent an email unless you choose to send them an email as well. In both these situations, they'll be sent with a subject line and then a rich text box that you can enter information into, so you can highlight, bold, enter tables, etc., etc., in the same way as you would any email tool. That's quite a big box. At the bottom of that, when you scroll down, you can also choose to add attachments if you'd like to, so you just use that in the same way as you would any other email application, that you choose file and add that. Then you click on choose recipient group. Choose recipient group will then take you through to a second screen, which allows you to choose which group of people you want to send to. So you can send in bulk or you can send to individuals. To start with, you can select whether you're going to send to contacts, and the list of contacts is listed there. That's a long list. We will rationalize that because there's a number of roles in there that probably aren't valid. But you go in and say, right, I want to send something to all club admin, or the people I want to contact are the club admin of a particular club. So you go through and you tick the various different boxes within here that are the type of user that you want to contact. Once you've done that, at the bottom of that list is then a button that says choose individuals. When you click that, that will then list all of those people that you have access to, as in they exist within the area or association that you're linked to, that meet the criteria that you've just specified in the previous list of tick boxes. You then just select which of those, by unticking or ticking, who you want to send that to. All the time you'll have the subject line of the message so you can remember what it is you're sending. You can tick the box whether you want to have a copy sent to you or not, and then you press send message, and that will send the email out to the user group that you've just selected. Postpone fixtures. Again, start with the regulations. This is about who needs to be notified when a pitch is postponed because of bad weather, and who makes the decision, what needs to be done. So particularly the second part of the regulation here around home team contacting the relevant people to make sure that they are aware that the fixture has been postponed, and this is essentially on the day of the fixture, really, because that's different to the process that we've just talked through previously. If you want to postpone a fixture, we go through the options of going to the fixtures, using the search option to find the relevant fixture, clicking on the fixture, then amending the fixture. When you amend the fixture, you'll see a screen similar to the one on the left-hand side. Again, you may not have access to amend all of these things. The one thing you will have access to is the status. All matches are set to active as a status by default, but if you want to postpone, you just you select the postponed bit and then press save. If you want to cancel or delete, you obviously choose those. However, cancelled means that the fixture is never going to be played again. So it's pretty much closed down. It's not going to happen again. Deleted obviously removes it from the system completely. In most situations for adult competitions, we believe that it will be postponements rather than cancellations that you'll be working with. Obviously, COVID scenarios meant it was slightly different, but in most situations, we think it will be postponements. If rather than amending individual fixtures like you have done, as we've shown you in the previous slides, you actually just want to go, look, this week it snowed and every single fixture was off. And we're going to move every single fixture by default from this Saturday to next Sunday. You can do that within your competitions divisional view again. So you go to the competitions, filter, find the competition that you're in charge of, click on that competition. That will give you the competition screen. Using the options along the top, there's one that says rounds. The rounds lists the dates for each of the rounds within your round robin that are going to be taking place. If you want to amend any of those dates, so let's say it was Saturday the 18th, you want to move all of those to Sunday the 26th, you amend round 1 from 18th the 9th 2021 to 26th the 9th 2021. And then when you press save, that will automatically move all of those fixtures to that new date. And so you don't have to individually change those fixtures. Again, still worth going back in, clicking on the fixtures view here, checking that all the data is in the right place, checking that it's moved to the right thing. You can, if you would much rather, just amend each fixture individually. And obviously conscious that some divisions will work where not every fixture is going to be played the following Sunday. Some might be the following Sunday, some might be the Sunday after. So you might choose actually that the better option is just to amend fixtures individually. But this is just an option to use bulk move if you want to. Walkovers. Recording a walkover result, this is a two-stage process. The first stage is that the result needs to be recorded on the match sheet by the club or the team admin as a walkover. If you are contacted as a competition administrator by a team and told over the phone or whatever that it's a walkover, you can also go into that fixture and record on the match sheet that it's a walkover. But there is a match sheet part where somebody records the walkover. That logs the walkover. Off the back of that walkover, there are then rules set up as to how that result is processed within your league structures. But if you then want to also make adjustments to the league table for that reason or for any other reason, actually, for penalties that are incurred, you're fining teams a point, 2 points, etc., then you do that through the points adjustment process. The points adjustment process is done through, again, your competitions view. So competitions, search for the right competition, press search, click on the division competition that you are in charge of. Then go to competition entrance. So similar to the screen we've already been to before. And over on the right-hand side, there is a column that says league adjustments. If you want to adjust the points for one of the teams in your competition, you click on the relevant add against the relevant team that you're wanting to make those amendments for. When you click that, it brings up a screen that allows you to make those amendments. You can make positive and negative amendments. So if you put 3 here, that's +3. If you want -3, you need to make sure you put -3. You can make sure you're selecting the right values by using the scroll arrows on the right-hand side of this box here for that shows points adjustment. Just scroll up, scroll down, and you'll see it either says it will just say 1, 2, 3 or -1, -2, -3. You can log the reason for the points adjustment. When you do that, there will be a little bubble that appears on the league table, and the bubble will present that text that you've written into that reason box. Then you can also put a date effective. So if it's going to be a future dated thing, that's fine. The adjustment won't happen until that date's been passed. And then same with a time. So it might be a date and time for a future dated amendment, or it's a past dated amendment. So you just fill in those date and time boxes and press save. That will then adjust the points suitably within the league table within your competition. Touched on it already. You cancel fixtures using the same functionality as you would for postpone fixtures. Just be aware that, as I said earlier, think carefully before you cancel, because once you've cancelled it, you're not going to be playing it again. So postponement's probably more likely, but it's the same menu. From the status, you select cancelled and then press save. Okay, one final bit is just around some of the reports and the information that are coming that will help you do your job. So I've alluded to it already, the missing venue and start times. That's going to be appearing within the notifications on your home screen. So when you first log in, that will appear as a list of fixtures that are missing venues and start times, only for the competition and the fixtures that you manage as a competition secretary. So that will appear there. The other ones listed here are reports, and there's a reports suite within the system that you'll be able to access, and we're in the process of just developing all of these reports to allow you to see unfulfilled matches, so those that have been postponed, cancelled, or walkovers. Those that are missing match results, there'll be a report that shows which results are missing. There'll be a report that shows late submission of results. So every competition can be configured to have a deadline for when results match sheets have to be submitted for. There'll be a report that matches when they are submitted against that cutoff. Same for late submission of team sheets. So again, individually configured for competitions when the team sheets have to be submitted by. So again, you can have a report that matches when they were submitted against when the rules, the regulations state they should be. We'll also have information in there around players and their appearances. So who's played what, how many games, etc., at what levels. There will be information around disciplinary suspensions, so those who have been marked by the disciplinary administrators as having served a suspension, and then also a log of the cards that players have picked up, assuming that everybody is using the functionality within the match report sheet to record the cards accurately. Final bit before we go to questions is just talking about what's next. Some of you will have seen this slide already, so apologies that it's a repeat of that. Some of you may not have done. For launch, we are making sure we have a core system that's ready, that has formal leagues, the functionality works for that, and also that it can operate the knockout competitions that we will look to set up and run through that. Core admin roles, so we only have a limited number of roles at the moment, and those are the ones that are being given to you as competition administrators, the club administrators, and team administrators. We will look over time to develop those into a wider range so that we can lock down access to certain parts. So we know a number of clubs already are talking about fixture secretaries only need to be able to do this. They don't really need everything else. So we'll be looking at doing that in the future, and I'll move on to that in a second. We have made sure that there's a user interface for players to log into. So we've shown you that essentially. That's the information that now exists for them. We're making sure that we're tracking the essential data for the system to be used so that you can do your job and so that the leagues and the competitions can be managed properly. And as just touched on, there's going to be these core reports to allow you to see the critical bits, or the bits that the competitions group believe are the critical reports that you need to be doing your roles. Future phases, so the next phase, immediate phase after launch, we're going to be looking at how do we allow the functionality for clubs to add in friendlies. As I've talked about, having wider admin roles, developing the interfaces for those admin roles so that it's easier to use and not perhaps not as many screens for people that don't need as much access. Improving the data that's captured and reported on, some dashboards to help people with their roles, and then a number of people have already asked about what integration there is with the likes of Teamer, Pitch Hero, Teamo, Club Buzz. Are we doing APIs that present information into them? Are we receiving data from them? Those are conversations we're having with all of those system providers. And to be honest, just too complicated to integrate from the start, because every single one of those systems has a different data structure. And so if you're trying to build that in to start, it just adds in a huge amount of complication. That risk adds a huge amount of risk to the project. We don't want to do that, but we are having those conversations. We've been talking to those providers for the last couple of years about sharing data, so that's definitely on our radar. There is also then data that's going to be passed into the area websites. They'll have the league information on the area websites as well as the England hockey websites. Phase 3, we're going to get schools using it. We're going to get improved user interfaces for our super administrators. We're going to get hold of historic data and load that in. So players' records of playing in the National League, we'll make sure we get the data from Sport Lomo, for example, load that in, and there'll be more reporting. And then after that, we're looking to use the system to really improve an individual's engagement with the sport. So personalization of the information they receive, what they can see about themselves, really making the sport a much richer environment for people to be interacting, so that they feel more engaged with the competitions and the roles that you are all playing in helping them to enjoy their sport. Right, training and support. We are loading everything onto the website. As I said earlier, englandhockey.co.uk/deliver/GMS. Videos are being loaded on there for people to access. So this session won't be, but the club admin and the team admin sessions, which were open sessions, the videos for those from Monday night have been loaded onto the website. Regularly updating the FAQs. As I said, there's a big document to go up online tomorrow, and we are responding to the emails in the support email. Going right back to the start, conscious that our comms needs to be upped, and we are going to be doing that. We are going to increase the amount of communication we send out to our clubs, our players, and to you as a user group. So the final bit that I sort of alluded to earlier about more training for you as a user group. We've banded this 1B and 2B as potential follow-ups. So session 1 was about the pre-season stuff. Session 2 is obviously this one about the in-season stroke immediately at the start of the season. We were wondering whether we needed to do another session and whether we could take a load of questions. So like the questions we've just run through in the how do I, take those from you as a user group, put those into a deck where we can then run through those as questions that people would find really helpful to have answers to. So I think in the chat or in the functionality that's on the control box on your right, you should either be able to say yes, no, thumbs up, just give an indication to us of whether that is. I think you can raise your hand. I think that's the thing, perhaps. So if everybody thinks those would be useful to run more sessions, so a follow-up to session 1 and a follow-up to session 2, which is built around the questions that you want to ask us, please just flag that up now. I'll leave you long enough to try and do that. If you can't find the hand, just type in the chat. I'm sure Elena can pick that up and see that. Okay, that's probably long enough. We will be holding drop-in sessions. Those are lighter touch. We're going to be running them at various different times during the day. Those are really for someone who's stuck on one issue. They want to come in and just ask, how can I do this? How do I do this? You can drop into the drop-in session. One of myself or a couple of other people will be online, and we'll just work with you and try and explain to you how to do something, or check that the system is doing what it should do. And if it isn't, we can take that away as a bug and get it resolved for you, perhaps relating to your access levels, etc. So we have got those drop-in sessions. Those are available to be booked onto. They're on the Hockey Hub event booking. So if you do hockeyhub.englandhockey.co.uk/events, you go on there, you'll see on there the page that lists all the events, but some of them will be GMS comp admin drop-in sessions or something along those lines. So you can book into those. And then the final thing is around change requests. We know that the system is not where we want it to end up. We know that also we aren't always the people that come up with the best ideas, because we're not the people that use it in anger as much as some of you do. So if you have some suggestions around what you would like the system to do, please let us know. We'll take those change requests, we'll look at the feasibility of them, we'll also look at the urgency of them, and we'll look at the priority of them. I can't promise that we will make every change request that is asked for, but if they come in and it seems very sensible, seems like something that really is important, we'll review those with the chairs of the competitions, the area competitions groups, and come up with a list of priorities, and then we will start working through those, obviously as far as budget allows, etc. But do please use that change request form, submit those requests. We're very interested to hear from you all about what you would like us to get the system to do. And I think that's it, other than moving to questions. questions. So I'm going to shush now and just give Elena time to see what questions have been coming in and see if there's anything that I can answer. I'll take this off my screen so you're not having to just stare at
that. Yeah, Steve, so we have a couple of questions. One is, how do you go about swapping fixtures between two teams in the same division?
So in terms of the, I think people have talked about just swapping home and away games over. Is that what we're talking about? I think you could just go in and change the dates. So you'd have to change the date on both fixtures. So like we talked about earlier in terms of the amendment to the date, you just go in and change the date for one. That would then show that you'd have a clash on that date, and so you then take the second fixture and put it back the other way. So that's a question I knew had been asked. I don't know whether that was actually the question that is being asked. If not, I think it would be a similar process. Just go in and change the fixture dates, and just make sure that once you've changed the fixture dates, you check your fixtures list and check you don't have any situations where you've got a team playing twice on the same day.
Okay. And then when you were talking about walkovers, you stepped through points adjustment only. What about the case when the result is set to 0-5-2?
To 0-5-2, so that
0-5 is in when
0-5. Sorry. So if a competition has a regulation that just has that built in as a standard, that is what you configure within the competition itself. You configure within the competition settings what a walkover result should be awarded as. So you can say it's 5 goals that's awarded as a walkover, or 2 goals, or 1 goal, or so yeah, that's within the competition's configuration. Okay, so every game would just have the same. If it's a walkover, they just automatically get processed with that result.
Okay, and then we've had some suggestions about the website and where information can be found, so we can obviously take those on board.
Yeah.
And then there's some yeses to training and a suggestion that perhaps once access has been granted and people have been able to have a look through and then to hold more training.
Yeah, definitely. That was certainly our initial aim, was to have some sessions once people have been able to go in and play around with the system. As I say, going back to right at the start, we're very aware we're not at the timescales we wanted to be. We wanted people to be into the system by now, but the reasons for those delays is so that we can get all this data sorted, so that when you go in, hopefully there won't be a vast amount of stuff to fix or change. It's really just going to be about seeing what exists already and making those tweaks, as people have suggested, about switching home and away fixtures or switching a couple of dates around.
Yeah. And then there's just one person who picked up late on this, so have asked whether they can access the session online.
This is being recorded. I don't believe we're going to be putting it on the website, but it will be sent out to everybody that's registered for this session. That's my understanding, because we obviously don't want every man and his dog to be able to access the stuff that the competition administrators can access. So this will go to a specific user group, so it will be emailed out. So that the full recording will be emailed out to people to access if they want to. That's my understanding.
Okay, and then that's it. There were a couple in there about fixtures, but I've answered those for them, so those people are aware of those answers. So that's it for you, Steve.
Good. So I'm guessing, unless there's anything else that's coming through the chat, which I obviously can't see, that we're probably about there. And I'll just say thank you again to everybody for their patience around this, for their contributions so far. We are working really, really hard, and we're determined to make this a real success. So please do keep sharing things with us, because we want to get them right. And we know that you are the group that really understand this and the intricacies of fixtures and the teams in your areas and all that kind of stuff far better than we potentially do just from a systems perspective. So thank you so much for your time. Please do keep contacting us. we will make sure we do come back to everybody. As I say, we'll try and acknowledge every email. I'm aware that we haven't necessarily done that so far, but please email gms.support. We'll acknowledge and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can and resolve all the issues we can. I think in terms of timescales for the the area competition chairs have had access so far. The competition administrators were given access, but then we realised, so the divisional secretaries were given access, but we then realised that there was too many things wrong with the duplicate data and the data integrity issues. So we put those accounts back on hold. We're now ready to release those again to allow the divisional secretaries to get onto that. And that will be happening certainly within the next 24 hours, if not much sooner than that. So I think we can probably finish there, Elena, unless there's anything else that's come in.
There have been a couple of questions about when will the league regulations be published.
Oh, in which case I'm now going to ask you to bring Mr. Barlow on for that, please. Mr. Barlow, can you unmute yourself and provide the response to that? This is where technology is going to let us down. Awkward.
Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yeah, we got you now.
Yep. As I understand that the final draft regulations that we all approved have gone to the for the ASCs for their approval, but within the next day or so they'll be published on the, I think, on the England Hockey web. And when we know, and once we get a link for that, we'll make sure that's put in the forum so that you can direct people to those template regulations.
Thanks, Stephen. Elena, have we got anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks, Steve.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again, everybody, for your time. Yeah, we look forward to more interactions, more of your questions to help us shape what we can do to help with the training. It sounds like the follow-up 1B and 2B will be a goer, so we'll work out when we can schedule those in. And we'll obviously give you a few days to get your heads around using the system yourself once you're in, and then we'll go from there. Thank you very much.